Hi, folks. Some of you have been writing into me, and it's continually along the same question. The question kind of goes like this, that myself and other teachers out there are advising you to come into your heart, come down into the center of your being, or come into presence, or just bringing awareness to all of the movements of you, and from that place of awareness, moving in the world. And this is the advice, and we're saying things like, when you move from awareness, or when awareness is embodied and allowed to live, you will feel expansive and or present and fearless and effortless or ease. And that's not your experience. Your experience has been different. That you are, when you find yourself integrating with awareness and bringing awareness as the main focus and living your life from this place, what you're actually feeling is a tenderness and a nervousness and a vulnerability. You are experiencing some of the woundedness that I've spoken about that might be there, so fear, rage, and this is what's actually arising. And so you're not doing anything wrong. That's true. That's what comes up. Most of our lives have been full of heartbreak and all kinds of grief and pain, and we have buried that in our hearts, and we have armored ourselves. A lot of us, most of us, all, including myself, have all this armoring around the heart from life's disappointments and life's rejections. And so when you move through or follow those instructions about moving down into your awareness and coming from a centered place or aware place, when you come from your heart, all that repressed material that's there is going to come up. And that's beautiful. That's completely welcome. And that's, I agree, what happens. So this is a much better way to live than the continuation of the armoring and the continuation of the repression. So if when you move into your heart, come from awareness and start moving into your world, you start experiencing those wounds and that pain, this is much better, thousands of times better than being blocked, being repressed, holding this down, deepening the armoring. So I know the experience can be really unnerving, and it can also be overwhelming. But this awareness has room for it to arise. There's room here in the world for your healing. There's room here for the pain in your heart to arise and be met. And again, it's being met from the place of awareness, from the place of your heart. So wanting to clarify, because in 2 seconds you can cross the line and become identified with the pain that moves. And you know what? Even that's okay. That's part of the journey. And if it happens, that happens. And you may have noticed that awareness likes to identify. That's what it does. It begins to see itself as a separate person and separate personalities and separate beings. It begins to identify. That's what awareness does. So it's a slippery little line, and I want you to just be aware of that line. And what we're identifying or pointing out is staying on the side of awareness. So letting awareness receive the fear that arises, or the anger or the grief that arises as you're coming from or moving from a pleasant place. I know there's a real deepening of sensitivities. And I also know that while you're sitting there in meditation, maybe you're some time for yourself and you're letting that, you come into your center, you come into presence, and suddenly you're overwhelmed with anger or rage. And in that place, you can meet it with awareness, but then suddenly life happens and you have to go pick up the kids, or you pick up the dry cleaning, or got a meeting at work. And this pain body starts to do it. I know. So that you have the experience of something completely neutral or even loving, and you meet it with rage. or you meet it with frustration, or you meet it with fear. And that's just part of the journey, and it's okay. At a certain point, you will become aware that that's what's happening, and allow yourself to just be. It's okay. There's room. You're in a process of moving from your heart. All of that deep owie stuff is welcome to come up. And yeah, you don't have to shame yourself or feel like there's something wrong because you're not in some fearless bliss place. Um, where you are is where you're authentically needing to be, and that's your freedom, and that's welcome. So it's good work, you guys, and it's much preferable to continuing the armory and continuing the wounding and faking your life and pretending your life. So, a little extra sensitivity is not a terrible thing. And if you spend a few nights this week curled up in a corner, crying your eyes out because grief is moving through, it's not a terrible thing, because I can tell you, and you already know this, you've been living with that grief for a really long time, and if it's time now to let it out, that's great, because the repression of it and the holding it into your body can make you sick. It's making you ill, and it's stealing your life, and it's stealing your sense of fulfillment. So this is the byproduct, all that swirling emotion coming up as you move from your presence. Don't be alarmed. There's nothing wrong. It's completely welcome. And it's good work, you guys. It's really important work, and it's what happens. It's part of the journey.